everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Composites Cast, the monthly podcast about all things composites. And hello, I'm Nick. Ahoy, ahoy.
Ahoy, ahoy, Nick. I'm Martin, Technical Advisor, East Coast Fiberglass.
And I wasn't here last week for this really interesting conversation you had, so I will just let you tell everybody all about it.
Yeah, so we had a visit, last week now, and it was from a guy called Stuart Atlee, and his son races in the GT30 speedboat circuit.
Right.
And anybody that's not familiar with a GT30, it's a powerboat circuit. It's designed at entry level, class for drivers age 14 and up. So
okay.
Stu's son Jamie, he drives the boat that Stu has built.
Right. Wow.
And Stu's brother, he also raced in the circuit, and Stu's raced in the circuit as well. And these boats, reach an average speed of about 55 miles an hour. Wow. It's quite a popular. It's quite popular in the UK and other countries as well. I believe there's Norway. There's a few other countries anyway. You've got the National Championship Series, and it serves for a stepping stone for young entries to then get ready for moving up to higher classes like the F4. But I don't want to take too much away from the whole episode, because Stu will explain all this and how he got started. And we got to know Stu because he's one of our regular customers. Okay. And he's bought quite a few materials from us, and he came to visit us to learn a little bit more about the moulding side, using the carbon fibre and things. But to be honest, the amount of experience that Stu's had over the years, I think he could probably tell us a few things as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
for anyone who's interested in manufacturing or making speedboats, this one's for you, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll not be following the usual kind of layout for the podcast, so we'll just leave you to listen to Stu giving his words of wisdom and experience.
Great. Well, I haven't heard this yet, so let's take a listen.
So, morning, Stu. Morning, Lee.
Morning.
So we have Stuart Atlee here. Who's one of our customers. How long have you been dealing with us now, Stu?
I was just looking back on the phone. Probably from about 2010, probably back that far. Making the bigger offshore boats when we sort of started getting into making our own. So
a good 15 years, yeah. Right, 15 years. Yeah.
Somewhere around that sort of time.
Mm-hmm. So what were you doing? We know you're doing the GT30 Powerboats now, which I've been looking at them on YouTube. Yeah. I was amazed at the speed they're going. They practically just about lift out of the water as they're going. There's just literally nearly just the engine touching as they're bobbing about. And it's your son that's racing at the moment.
Yeah, some racing. He started in the junior. This is a GT30. You can race GT15 as a junior, which you can start at 9 years old. So you go 9 till 16 as a junior, and that's the same boat but with a 15 horse on the back.
Right. Okay. Is that the one that's got the full cover over the top as well?
No, exactly the same as those. But it's for the juniors, so they'll say half the power, and that's where the juniors learn their trade. And that's where Jamie started. He won his first British Championship, or his only British Championship at this point, 2021 in a 15, which was my fourth boat that I'd built.
You were telling us an interesting story of how you got into it, though, Stu.
Yeah.
From your dad being interested in model boards.
Yeah, it goes back to my dad was well into radio control models. Back in the late 60s into the 70s, and in the 70s the full-size offshore class 1 racing was very big in this country. There was lots of boats and teams. My dad actually started making 1/12 scale models of the offshore boats. So he was doing fiberglassing in the shed when I was growing up as a kid, making these model boats, and then he'd go and race them around the country with golf places, and he'd race them. And obviously I've got two older brothers. My oldest brother, he started to do model boats. Again, my dad was just tinkering in the shed making them and smelling the house out, much to my mum's delight. You've been resining again, stink, and all those sort of things. I can remember growing up with that sort of stuff. And eventually my eldest brother got to the age where model boats was getting a little bit boring, and he actually went into the full-size offshore. He started racing.
So how did he get into that? Because you can't just go and buy an offshore racing boat, can you?
Generally, I mean, again, the offshore scene was a lot bigger back in the 80s, and there was lots of magazines and stuff, and he just picked up one of the magazines. There was a guy looking for a navigator. He owned a boat, so we rang him up and met up with him, and he just started being a navigator sitting in the back and doing share costs and all that sort of things. You just pay for your weekends with a bit of petrol money, and that's how he started. And it's just sort of progressed. My other brother then started to race when he was old enough. As soon as I was 16, I was in the back of a boat, and that was 85 was my first ever race. It's like, and you didn't have to. Back then, the navigator didn't have to have a full licence. You could get like a day licence, so you just turn up and you'd sign some bits of paper and you got in a boat. You didn't have to have a full medical or anything. So it was great. And then that's when I started racing. And then, but back then we weren't involved with building. We just bought boats. You say you could buy bare shells that you get out yourself from various manufacturers. Phantom Powerboats in Sittingbourne was one of the most famous ones in this country. Steve Bakery used to make them, and you used to buy just the bare shells of him and then kit them out and go racing. So it was only until you jump forward through the 90s, and I bought my first. I've sort of almost won a championship once. Long story, won't go into that one because I haven't got time. But I bought a boat from Norway because they came over for an international. We saw it, went, they had good boats, so I bought one. We raced it, successfully raced it, and that's the same hull. We've modified it slightly recently, but we just eventually got permission to get a splash, and we had obviously got the moulds for it, and then that's when we started going into we had a couple built elsewhere, weren't fully happy with quality and things, so we decided, if you want it done properly, do it yourself. So, and with the experience of my dad, going back to my dad, the experience of him doing the glass fibring when as we were growing up, we sort of had knowledge to a point of it can only be like making the models, just it's a bit bigger. And I think we probably spoke to you, I know my brother definitely did, a few times as we were going into the projects and making them. How do we do this? What do we do? And I think Martin probably took quite a few of the calls of, we're trying to do this, what do you think? And just took the advice, put the knowledge we had and gave it a go. So looking back, 2013 I built my first. I've got one that's just a family boat, so I built one just as a ski boat, so it's all got floors in it, it's fully rigged out. So that's my first go at building one myself. And then
using the moulds that you've made.
Yeah, we had moulds made for us, and then the guy, he built us a couple of boats, but we weren't fully happy with what we were getting, so we decided to take it on ourselves. We rented a bit of space on a farm in a barn, put a big gazebo tent up, and that was our manufacturing suite sort of thing. So,
but you had to stop in the winter though, did you?
No, we just.
Can you tell us a tale about that? Didn't you, about the temperature and?
Yeah, so the temp was quite bad because obviously it was just a tent, so to keep that a decent temperature was quite hard during the winters. And space heaters and resins and that don't really go very well. And I'm very sceptical to actually run a space heater while I'm doing sort of fiberglassing.
It scares me so much when we get customers and they say, well, I'm going to rent a space heater, and I'll go, no.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, why would you not space heater?
Obviously, the resin's flammable anyway, but it would take a good flame to get actual just raw resin to initially go. But it's the vapours that are the most dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably noticed when we've got the sheds here ventilated, but first thing in the morning when we open the shed doors, we just have to stay out of the sheds for a while and just let the airflow get through, and because the styrene build-up is so strong, and if anything was to ignite, then it's just like it.
Because you will get someone listening to this podcast thinking, well, why can't you use a space heater?
Yeah.
And obviously that's the reason why. It's
just naked flames.
Yeah.
I mean, even any normal heater where you've got like an element in it's not great when you've got styrene vapours building up. If you want like an oil-filled radiator or something like that.
Some other means of heating the room.
Yeah, which again, those kind of heaters are not great. But yeah, temperature controls are a must, but it's a real problem in the winter when you haven't got an actual factory or a insulated warehouse to keep the heat in. Yeah,
I mean, luckily on the farm, it's still a working farm. It grows fruit, goes pears, and so he's still working a little bit. But he had some brick-built cold stores that he rented out, and one became available. So after about 3 years of being in our tent, one of the cold stores became available. So we went, can we go in? And we moved out of the tent out the back of the barn and went into a nice brick-built insulated cold store. It's actually got cork lining around the walls, and it's great because it stays about 10 degrees all year. So in the summer you open it up, it'll be about 10 degrees. Go in there in the winter, it's 10 degrees. So to warm it up, it's not too bad. I might say whack the space heater on first thing in the morning, get the temperature up, and then turn it off, and then cut the oil-filled rads, vary the cost because we pay a fixed rent, and obviously the electricity comes out of that. So if I'm in there over the winter making a boat, then I'll have to pay a bit more rent because I've used up a bit more electricity being there for a couple of weekends.
So you're not laminating in your shorts, sweating?
No,
because it's not your electricity.
Well, no, he's such a nice guy, the farmer. I just wouldn't do that to him. I try and be responsible on heating because it's. But generally, you start the day in full winter gear, beanie hat, gloves, one-piece suit on. By the end of the day, you're down to a t-shirt and sweating inside because you've got the temperature up inside quite nicely. But
it's funny how we touched on the subject of temperature. I mean, getting the room to temperature is one thing, but getting the product to temperature is another as well. Because if you brought product out of chill into a warm room, it's going to take ages for that to get to about the usual 18, 20 degrees that I recommend, or well over 15 anyway. And one of the tricks some of the boat builders do is they'll put it in a cardboard box with a hot water bottle on.
Okay.
Hot water bottle in. But by the time they've left home and driven to wherever they're going to do the job, the product's already kind of warmed up and brought temperature. And if there's any heat left as well, if they've done a repair, you can put a bit of Mylar in a hot water bottle over the repair, if gravity allows for the type of repair you're doing, and that'll help.
You can also make a hot box as well, out ploughed with light bulb in.
That's it,
And that gives you enough temperature to keep your material warm, and you're only using a light bulb.
Sometimes, if you know it's going to be cold, I'll take some of the pots of resin back home and just stick them in the hall for overnight.
Yeah.
Don't tell me, Mum. What's that smell? Nothing. But just warm it up over the overnight, so you can take it back in the morning and it's usable.
Pinch your wife's hairdryer, get some good heat off one of them, just warm your job up.
Yeah, I'm divorced.
Resin all over the handle.
We won't talk about
Do you not come away with a hairdryer?
No, I think she kept that. Yeah, I've not seen anymore. But
So how was your knowledge and experience developed over the years, Stuart, as well, with when you first started? I mean, was it a bit daunting when you first started building your first boat, or you just thought, I've got an idea what I'm doing, I'm just going to go for it?
Yeah, basically in for a penny, in for a pound, isn't it? I think I'm an engineer by trade anyway, so my father's an engineer, my brothers are now electrician, was a motor mechanic, so we were quite hands-on, quite sort of do things. I say, my dad building the model boats and he was building from scratch the whole thing. So that's what I've been brought up with, sort of building things, making things. So yeah, it was just, it's like I said, it's like the model boats, but just a bit bigger. That's how I look at things. Give it a go. I mean, what can go wrong? Which I found out after many years what can go wrong, but it's just it was just working out with a big boat. We just worked out a plan. We knew we had to have at least 2 people working. And once we got into laminating, the gel coating was quite simple. Put the laminates in, sort of. We made sure using combi, we just rolled the whole lot out, and we didn't like to have lots of joins, so we did it. People say, we just run it crossways, it's easier, but we like to keep it all as one piece if we can. But we found that you could have one person just laminating. We used to have 3 actually, because my sister-in-law used to come down and do the mixer resin. One would be throwing it on, and the other one would just be consolidating. So you just run down the bit you put in and wait till the end, then put the next bit in. I mean, as long as it hasn't cured completely, you can still go over the top. Even that's starting to gel, you can still go over the top of it. It was laminating fine. So we when we were building boats, we'd go, this weekend we're going to do the first, and it was like agreement. And we did it on the Friday night. Normally gel coat on the Friday night. That gives you time to go over the weekend. Saturday morning, perfect, and then you just start. And then once you start, you don't stop until you get a few layers in, and then we might sort of stop overnight, then go back up, sort of clean up, take any nibs off, and then carry on. And over the space of a week or 2, we'd get a hull made. But it was nothing too. There's never anything too daunting. Not at that stage. Do standard wet layout, polyester. It's all fair. People look at me sometimes and they say, "Oh, you build boats?" Yeah. Oh, that must be difficult. Well, not really. But then maybe it's because I've always been around people that have done it or been involved with doing it. I sometimes have to take a step back and go, "Oh wow, I have actually made that." Because people come up to me and go, "I'm amazed you've made that." I said, "Yeah, but to me it's nothing. It's sort of what I do. I make things." But I have to sit back and think, why do people think that's such an amazing thing? It's sort of, and then you think, well, I look at what other people sometimes make, and you go, well, that's good. But it's very easy if you've been living with something all your life, which I basically have been. To then people say, well, that's amazing. But with the offshore boat, we went further. We then decided to change the design of the boat, so we moulded one, turned it upside down, cut all the bottom off, and made a whole new bottom, and then made a whole new mould, and then made a whole new deck. And it's like, what have you done that for? Because I'm bored. So we built what's called a race deck. So it's basically standard V hull, but it's just a 2-man cockpit rather than an open ski cockpit. So we created a race deck. Limited facts on that is I'm an engineer, I'm not a designer, so we had some ideas on how to recreate the design of the boat on looking at what other people are doing. Made a slight error in our redesign, so the boat doesn't work properly yet. We've got to do some modifications to it, but it porpoises too much, so we've got to flatten the bottom out. We've put too much of a bend in it basically. But that's been an ongoing project for the last 18 months. The poor boat's sitting upside down in the workshop waiting for me to work on it. But
would you get a naval architect to do any of them calculations, or would you just use it from your own personal experience and then just take a bit off here? And
maybe I should have done. Because it's very easy to go, well, if you do that, it should do this. Whether that actually works in true running of a boat. Hydrodynamics is very critical things, and we were going, well, if it just slowed the back of the boat away, it'll hold the nose up. But it doesn't quite work like that. The other thing is that when you put steps in hulls nowadays, that requires a lot of calculations, because you put the step in the wrong place and it just doesn't work. So we've avoided that bit. But I know one guy, Adam Younger, he's one of the top designers in the country for the offshore stuff. I speak to him occasionally and say, I've had this idea, and he'll go, well, that may work, but it may not. So it's I do go and get information if I think I might go down maybe a rabbit hole with something, an idea. What if we try this? And I spoke to some guys in the circuit, and I said, "Well, try to get the boat to lift up by curling the back up away a little bit." And he went, "Oh, we tried that, and it didn't work." And it's like, "Yeah, I know that." It's sort of.
And would your competitors share them sorts of bits of information, or would they not just let you do it and see you fail miserably?
I mean, the quick people will tell you quite a lot of information without actually telling you a lot of information.
Yeah.
They'll tell you things that they think you need to know, but they won't tell you how to make the boat go faster. They'll tell you fundamental stuff that will work, that won't work. But a lot of the top guys won't actually. What you need to do is this, and this, and then it'll be really quick.
Yeah.
They're never going to give that away. They're never. I've done a road trip with one team, and I went with them because I thought, if we go with them, I'm going to pick up so much information on how to set. This is in our first years of doing circuit. We'll pick up so much information on how to get the boats going quick. Mm-hmm. And I was there with them for the whole weekend. I didn't learn anything because whatever they were doing, they were just doing it, and I didn't either notice what they were doing, or didn't understand what they were doing. But there was definitely when Jamie started in his junior years, there was. They've recently changed to fuel injected engines from carbed, but there was a way of getting the carbed engine off the line every time perfectly. But it was like no one ever told you how to do it. You had to somehow either learn it, come across it, or if you were really like somebody eventually would go, what you need to do is this, and then you'd practice it and go, oh thanks. But there was a specific way of setting the engine up ready for a start.
Yeah.
And if you did it wrong way round, it would flood and then not start, and you'd be stuck on the line and everyone else off down the track. But that's one of those unspoken things that, unless you were really lucky and somebody did come over and say, look, you need to do this at the start, you'd never get told it.
I mean, it's not just about the aerodynamics and modifying the shape, but we were looking at your boat yesterday, and we noticed some delamination on the top.
Yeah.
And you were saying it's probably from impact. I didn't realise this until I watched the videos, how much those boats kind of slam on the deck as they go, and they kind of bob up and down as they go, and the hull's, smashing against the lake, and then the force is going up and it's affecting the deck where you've got delamination. So I got a good picture of how that could come about. So obviously there might be a way of getting around that, so that doesn't happen again. I don't know what, but maybe something that produces shock. I don't know if there's any kind of materials or a core material that does that, Lee, you know of? Or?
There's that many core materials out there at the minute. I think you'd be quite experienced using armour cell, which is one of our core materials. That's quite rigid. I can't think of anything that would have got a bit of give in it, to be honest. Maybe something like cork. I mean, cork's got a little bit more compressive give in it than
it's going to have to be something that springs back out, because PU foam would be no good, for example. It would just crush, and then that would be disastrous there. But maybe worth having a look at some sort of core material that kind of absorbs it and then springs back out again.
I must admit, I mean, some of it might be just my manufacturing, because when the core went on, it wasn't bagged, it was just glued and then some weights put on it to hold it down. So there is a chance that maybe if I'd done it and bagged it, then it would have spread the adhesive a little bit better and better contact.
Mechanical bond.
Yeah. So I do take. I'm not perfect in everything I do. Definitely not. But sometimes you do stuff and you go, right, I would like to bag it, but I'm on my own. I haven't got the time to put the bag on and get it done. So I just get the sandbags and weigh it all down, and then.
Yeah, but what we were talking about yesterday, because you've obviously come up and you just want to reinforce the techniques and the methods you've been using to make sure you are doing the right thing. And on a whole, you are doing it, and you have been doing it for the past 15 years with good success. But one of the things we talked about yesterday is people think that they're bagging something, they need to get the bag on as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
But if you read any, say, decent composites technical data sheet, one of the key things that they'll put in there is the earliest time to bag. So you need to have a look at the rating system you're using and see the earliest time to bag. It might be 3 hours after you start laminating. So people are rushed to get the resin on, rushed to get the bag on. Half an hour later, they're bagging it. But the problem with that is you'll just draw too much resin out because it's still in that early liquid stage where it has to start to gel. And you then draw too much resin out through the perfect release from on the breather fabric. Yeah. So that's why it's a really important part of the data sheet at the earliest time to bag. So you know that you're going to get the best mechanical and chemical bond using the vacuum bag with the resin at that particular time along the process that you're doing. So it might be 3 hours. So you think you haven't got time, but you've got 3 hours. Yeah. You can lay it up, go and have a cup of tea and come and throw the bag on, and you've still got plenty of time.
Otherwise you're essentially basically just wringing every bit of resin out.
Yeah.
Makes sense,
Slow down a bit.
Yeah, and again, we're talking about infusion over the past couple of days as well. It can be a wonderful thing. It's not always ideal. I mean, one of your key considerations is weight. So yes, you'll get a better resin to laminate ratio, and you'll have a reduced weight. But sometimes you don't need that reduced weight because of your what's it called? What's stipulated in the guidelines in the rule book.
The minimum weight.
So you're going to be putting all that time and effort into infusing something, and you're going to produce a massively reduced boat. But again, you mentioned yesterday it can only be 15% lighter or something than the minimum.
The ballast you can put back into a boat to get it up to the minimum weight. There's rules in the book, and it's 10% of the weight of the boat. So if the boat weighs 150 kilo, you can only put 15 kilo of ballast into it.
And if the minimum weighs 200 kilos, you're still a fair few kilos shy. So what would you do in a scenario like that? Would you just scrap the hull up, laminate more layers into it?
You would. Well, what people tend to do now is you'd put what they tend to do. If the boat's too light, if you've got a very light drive, you bought a boat and it's coming in too light, you can't put the ballast in. They tend to get lead strip, run it down the keel, and then put a couple of layers of glass over the top, because then that becomes it's not movable ballast, it's fixed, but it's glassed in. Or you glass it around the bottom of the seat, or there's ways of doing it that you can overcome that. You can still put the weight in, but it has to be fixed. It has to be fixed.
I understand that.
Or as I was saying yesterday, you just put a very heavy battery in. But then that has its own issues. If you've got a heavy battery, you've still got to fix it into a hull that may not have the strength in places where you can actually. A 12 kilo battery is a lot of mass to hold in place. As you say, with the boats moving around as they do, you've got to hold 12 kilo, and you don't want it falling out the bottom of the boat. You don't want it coming loose and smashing into the back of the driver. So there's always that side of it to look at. Again, I was saying yesterday, I calculate normally backwards. I know the size of my mould, I know material that goes in, so I can calculate roughly how heavy the boat needs to be when I make it, so I know how much material goes in. So, and over the years I've sort of slowly got that a little bit better. The first ones are made in the 30s, which came from a guy that we were racing against his team. He said, I've got the moulds, you make boats, can you make me a couple of boats? So, and that's the same as
we're talking about the GT30, so you didn't get them in the 30s.
the GT30. So I said, fine. I said, what's the layout schedule for it? And he went, no, I haven't got one of those. So that's right, okay. So again, I just reverse engineered up. We know what we want it to weigh. I used the schedule of the offshore boat. We know how that was laid up, and so I said, well, we can reduce thicknesses because we haven't got the speed and we haven't got all the pressure. So I just reverse engineered it, worked out in my mind what's going to be the right layout. We built the first one. It was really close on the weight limit to a point where they couldn't move too much around. They didn't have enough sort of wiggle room to be able to set the boat up how they wanted to, and in the end we built a new deck for it, lighter deck to get them back about a year down the line. We put a new deck on it so that they had a better option for weight. But from the first one I then slowly built up a knowledge of what was needed. So I built 3 to start with, 2 for the team that asked for them. and then I was able to use the moulds to build Jamie what would have been his second boat. Again, got something slightly wrong. That was a little bit for the 15s. It was a little bit nose heavy, so we never could get it to run as well as the others were running. So after a year or so of running that, I went, I'll just build another one. Can I borrow the moulds again? Yeah, okay. This time I had a look at materials available and saw the S-glass. And it's still going to be a polyester layout because I'd always heard away from epoxy. You hear stories about epoxy, how it can be bad and everything else. So no, we just do a polyester boat, easier to repair. So I looked at the S-glass, and then it was like resin weights. 300 CSM uses 1.5 times the resin to its weight. 225, you do a 225. That's so. Now I could save kilos in resin just by going from a 300 CSM to a 225, and then drop into the 200 from a 300 with the S-glass. That's what the boat was made from. So I did exactly the same layout, but with just the boat came in about 15 kilo underweight. It's like fantastic. So now I can add weight, heavier battery. I can start moving stuff around, and in the end, obviously, Jamie was slowly getting bigger, so his increasing weight was an advantage because we didn't have to put the box so much back in. And so that's the boat. Then he would then race to the 21. We were ready for the 2020, but obviously COVID came along and scuppered that. But got a little bit running at the end of the year when they allowed us to go back out and do things. Got a little bit running, so we could see the potential in the boat. Did some modifications on it over the winter, and then 2021 went out and we won the championship. So, and that's won championship since as well. And that was sold on. We sold that one to make the new one. So that's how I do things. I make a boat, race it, I'll sell it, and then I'll make another one. Basically, it funds.
So you're selling a successful boat to build a better one.
Yeah, basically, I try and. I always like to think I can improve. I mean, I was thinking about building another one for next year, simply so that I know where I went wrong with the one we've got. Although it's a great boat, I'd like to build another one and make it better, improve it. Things I know I could have done better, do them better. So I'm always looking at evolution and making things as if a professional had made it. If you came out of a factory and it was like...
technically, Stuart, you're a professional.
Yeah.
You've probably been doing it longer than some professionals.
And I'm assuming you're all epoxy now.
That one is, that was the first all epoxy boat. Had a dabble at resin infusion with it. Costly error. Watching too many YouTube videos, I was aware.
It happens, yeah.
I always tell people that don't watch too many videos.
Yeah,
I've got a select few YouTube guys who I will recommend, and I will send to people for certain projects.
Yeah,
but you can.
Well, I think the problem I had was most people, when you start doing something new, you'd go, let's start off with this very small piece that's flat.
Yeah.
Not very tricky. I can make that. That doesn't cost me very much if it goes wrong. I went straight from not ever done infusion, watched a few videos to trying to build a deck that's very complicated. It's a 4-piece split mould because of the windscreens and the transom and everything else. So it's like, I can do this.
I get the sense you like a bit of a challenge as well. So for the listeners, Stuart brought in some pieces he wants to be out with carbon. It's the Wingburrow fittings and is it GoPro fitting or a
camera mount.
And we kind of suggested what would probably work better is buying pre-made angles and bonding them together, but you're kind of set on doing it all in one, aren't you? And
I might say
it's very complicated.
I might go for the bonding the two bits together. That sounds an easier route.
Because epoxy adhesives they're really good, and methacrylates are brilliant. I mean, both will just, if you glue two parts together with those materials, chances are if you try to even force them apart, they'll break the laminate. Or if it's wood, it'll break the wood before the join goes.
I'll just send you the photos if it falls off.
Yeah.
You said this wouldn't fall off.
I mean, I've used for example, Crestobon M105. It's a great product if you want to bond something quickly, and with great mechanical strength as well. I mean, I'm busy refurbing the motorhome at the minute, and a lot of the timbers that are rotted, I've replaced them, and because if you do an epoxy, you have to clamp them, leave them overnight, come back the next day. The Cresta Bond is a great product. I mean, there's other products out there, but we obviously supply Cresta Bond. It's a great product. Quick blaster M105 on the timber, clamp it on, go for a cup of coffee, come back, take the clamps off, and it's done. Takes a bit longer to get rid of full strength, but you can carry on doing what you're doing half an hour later.
Yeah. Yeah, I think on the first GT30s I made, I think I used a bit of Cresta Bond on the hull to deck joint.
Yeah.
But found it was going off too. You having to rush the job. Yeah. Because I probably bought the one that went off too quickly and rushed around and clamping it on, and it's like, oh yeah. So now I do it slightly differently. I join the boats differently anyway, the new ones. But it's just an epoxy with a additive to thicken the epoxy, and then that just gets smeared around the two joints, and then it's put together and left overnight. So
yeah, I think that's probably be a good video for us to do actually. Just bond a few materials together and just smash them apart and see what happens. Just to demonstrate, because it is surprising how good these adhesives are. Because your mind automatically goes, when you think about gluing something, you automatically think that glue joint's going to fail before anything else. But with those materials, it's not necessarily true with bonding with epoxy and methacrylate.
Yeah, materials fail before the glue.
So we've just done some tests. I mean, while I've been here, we've discussed material strengths and sort of we looked at the Negra and the Dialine and stuff, and for impact resistance, the Negra looks like something I may use in the next build, because it actually adds a lot of strength on the outside.
It's massively underrated, Negra. I mean, we used to use it in my life raft containers all made. And I remember once doing a bit of a Heath Robinson impact test on it by putting a 50 kilo block of timber on the top of the forklift and pushing it off with a stick, and it just bounced off the container. A little bit of gel coat damage. It didn't compromise the laminate at all. It just bounced off.
Dylan's quite a good impact material as well.
Yeah.
That's an old material. It's been around for years. Its nickname used to be Poor Man's Kevlar. It hasn't got the abrasive resistance, but it's got really good impact resistance. And similar kind of video, I think Nick put a video on me trying to smash a container with a hammer. When you change the hammer impacts to a tune, made something similar to a TikTok video.
But I mean, Inegra, there's Inegra Technologies in the States, they put videos out where they're firing like 62 massive joists at these tornado shelters. And they're literally just they're firing out this air cannon, and they're just bouncing off this tornado shelter. So it is a really good material, but I mean, like we were talking yesterday, Stuart, it's a social material, so you need it to get the best benefits from it. You need to mix it with something else like S-glass or carbon or whatever to get the best properties from it. It doesn't like working on a stone, so these tornado shelters, there'll be layers of glass and Negra, not just loads of Negra, because it's an olefin, and it tends to stick to other products better than it does stick to itself. So you'll probably find that if you fire it without anything in between it would just delaminate.
You sometimes find that with when you not so much the glass material, but the resins, the polyester resins. You were talking about laying up holes before, and if you're using likes of S-glass or any kind of woven glass with polyesters, it's always best to have chop strand between them. It'll work, it'll bond it, woven glass to woven glass, but on the boat that you're making that where there's constant impact all the time, those layers, because they're so smooth and the strands are so long, if it does delaminate, it'll keep going further and further until the skins have come apart.
That's one of the things I think I read early on, was the CSM between wovens on polyester, because you get a better bond. So that's so we offshore boats we always use combi, because it was just for the size and
speed things.
And throw it in and do it. But so with the Negra, the thing with it's a non-contact sport, meant to be, but you do inevitably have the odd bash and bump. So the Negra, I think, would probably do it in certain areas. It'd be good. we still need the Kevlar because I want cut resistance around the cockpit.
Yeah.
The props are sharp, and the skegs can do a lot of damage if they go across decks. So.
Is there any certain rules where you have to have Kevlar to stop bits flying everywhere? Because I know some racing circuits, motorbikes, sometimes they insist on it.
There is not in the GT class. There are rules about strengths of the hoops behind the drivers now, which were introduced a couple of years ago. In the sailboats, which are the canopies where the drivers are strapped in, there are strict rules on you have to be registered as a sail builder to build those boats. So there's probably, I've never really got involved with that. So there's a lot more involved with building a sail and a boat with a sail. You have to be registered. They have to withstand certain impacts, and there's a lot more goes into that. And all carbon builds those ones and stuff. So. Yeah, I don't quite know what their full rules are and what they need, but for the GTs, no. I mean, the idea of the GT boat, it's meant to be a cheap entry-level class. If you start putting too much into what the boat can be, how the boat can be built, or what it can be built from, you're going to start restricting. Because inevitably, you bring a rule in, it might wipe out half the boats that are in existence. So you then have to give grandfather rights to the ones that are running. And I mean, there is new rules for head protection that came in 2 years ago. All new boats, you can run without it. It's advised to have it for the UK. You can run without it. For international, you have to have it. But any new boat in the UK has to have it. So the old boats can still run. You can modify the old boats to come in line with the new international rules. But if you build a new boat, it has to have the new rules straight away. So that allows for the older boats to get to their end of shelf and fall away and get scrapped. And then the new boats will slowly come in, and the improved safety will be built into them as they're coming in. So, I mean, that was the whole design of that one. Initially, there was talk when the rules were brought in that it was going to be like a Halo with a screen, and there was lots of talk about different ways of doing it, lots of different theories going around, and I decided to start building that one quite early on when it was all being talked about. The only problem with that is because the rules were so fluid at the time, they were changing quite frequently. So people say, oh, they've changed it to this or they've changed it to that. So when I eventually finished design and went, this is the design, it was like, well, that's not what they've gone for now. They've gone for something slightly different. So I then had to go through a process of getting the design approved by the UK National Authority, and then it was just forwarded to the UIM, which is the governing body, and they basically got some outline rules for that type of cockpit, which that's built to the full spec of the rules for the cockpits anyway, if not more so. With the hoop around the top, that's probably double the strength it needs to be, but so you can't put price on safety personally, but so it took a while to get it through, but once it was through, a bit of work with the safety teams, sort of, because obviously when you suddenly raise the cockpit height by sort of 12 inches, 14 inches, 300 mil in English, in metric, whatever. The divers, if you've had a crasher upside down, the driver hasn't got out, the divers have still got to go in and be able to do a rescue and be able to extract the driver if they're unconscious. So there's some, with the help of a couple of rescue guys and a couple of the racing guys, we sort of, what can we do to, so it's got a quick release steering wheel, so the diver can release the steering wheel out of the way to get the driver. The opening's quite big. There's a hook on the front of the boat, so they can actually, one of the rescue boats has a crane on the front, so they can actually hook the boat up, so if it's sinking they can hold it up. So there's just lots of thought went into the build of it, and say that just all took a bit of time, and then
So your son Jamie, he's racing, and you were saying you and your brother raced as well?
Yeah, we've the whole family have raced. Myself,
I was going to say, any other family members?
My dad used to be a scrutineer back in the 80s and 90s. My brother's raced, I've raced. My brother's father-in-law raced. My sister-in-law, her sister raced. Her brother-in-law. It's a complete family thing.
Have you and your brother competed against each other?
Yes, so we have.
Who's the fastest?
I think we're probably as quick as each other. I'll keep it simple as that. He did drive occasionally, and yeah, he was a capable driver. I drove more. I'd like to think I'm the quicker driver, but
yeah, you've got to see that.
Yeah. I'd say that against Jamie as well. If he got in the boat, who's quicker?
We'll get them on the podcast to put the record straight on.
Yeah. So we've I've raced, I've driven, I've navigated, and when you're a driver navigating, it can get frustrating. But that's because you going along and you go, I wouldn't have gone with throttle then. I would have kept my foot planted. I would have done this. I would have done that. So you start thinking about how you would have been driving the boat when you're a navigator, and you go, and that gets frustrating. So I try not to navigate, but if there's a new driver that needs help, then I'll jump in. And this is back when we were doing more offshore stuff. We haven't done that for a while. A new guy needs a bit of help, a bit of experience. You get with experience navigating next to a new driver, he can help them understand a lot more. The navigator can say the reason why it's just done this is because you did this. With a circuit boat, I mean, where's a junior boat? Jamie would come in and say, "Did you let off at all?" No, I went all the way around that with my foot flat to the floor. Fantastic. But yeah, they do learn a lot. The juniors are great. The kids at the moment that are racing on the water, they're the fiercest racers going. Get them off the water, kicking the football on the grass behind the boats, all in one of the team's tents, having a laugh, and it's great. But it still gets fierce to racing in the juniors.
Well, I think that's all we've got time for. I think we've certainly might have filled 2 episodes up there. Thank you very much for coming along, Stuart, and sharing all your knowledge with me. I'm sure we'll be phoning you for advice next.
Next time we'll build a speed one.
I'm going to make sure my number's in there, because if your number doesn't come up as I know it, I don't answer the phone. It's in there so that I can go East Coast. I need a finger. It's that number, rather than go.
Well, thanks for coming up, Stuart, and thank you for your custom over the years as well. It's been appreciated.
Yeah, we'll make it in again. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Interesting, informative.
Yeah, there was quite
entertaining, great stuff.
Yeah, there was quite a bit in there actually. I think we had about 40 minutes of footage, and we've had to kind of edit some down a bit. I don't think there was enough there for 2 episodes, but there's enough there for one great episode. So it's worth having people visiting us to do a podcast. So if there's anyone out there who buys product, well, you don't have to buy products from us.
But we'll sell you some while you're here.
Even if you want to just come down and promote what you do,
definitely.
We're always happy for a visit, and for anybody who doesn't mind getting in front of the mic and doing a podcast with us. Even reps from our suppliers who want to say more about the products and give some information to our listeners as well. They're always welcome. We get a decent episode from that, so it helps us. It helps. Guys.
That's what we're all about, isn't it? And while we're on the subject, I'll plug the website here. We also have a part of our website, a blog on the website, where we often profile different customers and interesting things that they're doing and making with the product.
Yeah, that's right. We give a shout out to, I think it was Henleycraft on the last episode.
That's right, yeah.
Because he was asking, because we're trying to do a regular podcast, but I think, like we mentioned earlier, sometimes it's hard to do that, to have one a month. And Henleycraft, anyway, forgetting the name of the guy from Henleycraft now, it's slipped my mind, but
Henley?
No. Anyway, it'll come back to us later. But anyway, he contacted us and he said, "Are you doing any more podcasts?" He says, "Because I like listening to them." So it was nice to know that somebody's
definitely
somebody's out there listening.
So get in touch as well. If you've got any questions, drop us an email. I think we've got a Gmail, compositecast@gmail.com, or you could just use the website. We've got WhatsApp on there, and we've got phone number. We've even got phones. We've got all sorts. So just get in touch if you've got any questions, or if you want to get involved with the pod.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Martin. See you next time. Bye, everyone. Bye.